It's time for the B-A-Q-A. Hey, the B-A-Q-A. What you say? The B-A-Q-A with Mandate. The B-A-Q-A with Tiffany. The B-A-Q-A.
Hey.
Hey. I have not been able to say Mandate and Tiffany so
Hey.
long. But I will say, somehow, the universe worked it out that everybody's name rhymed. I was like, look at that.
I mean, it rhymes the regular way you pronounce it, and it rhymes the incorrect way that you pronounce it
I'm
for
doing
your
my
own
hateration
purposes.
dancery up in here. The Mary J. Blige, like, we just gonna make some words
Right?
up.
Right? Okay. Shout out to Mary J. Okay, BA fan, we are here for your questions. Remember, bring out your salt shaker, shake them up, because we are not your best, accountants. We are not your best financial advisors. We're your best brown ambition pals in your head. Okay, so we're giving you some light advice, some guidance, some ideas, but don't come for us and sue us. Okay, so take everything with some grains of salt. But if you want to submit a question to the show, you know how to do it. Go to brownambitionpodcast.com and click Ask Us Anything. You can also just hit us up directly, DM us on IG at Brown Ambition Podcast, and we love to get your questions.
Mm-hmm.
What do we got in the mailbag today, Tiff?
Well, someone slid into my personal DMs as a budgetista, which I welcome you, but ideally slide into the BA, the Brown Ambition DM. So Liz asked a question. She said, "Hey girls, what are your thoughts on one buying a property with a domestic partner? What are the legal implications?"
Domestic partner. So the term domestic partner, to me, my first question is like, does it vary by state what rights you may have as a domestic partner? Yeah. So my first question, or my first thing is, I would check with your state. What rights does that domestic partner have in terms of if the relationship goes sideways, to whatever property you guys obtain, during your relationship? Because if you're an official domestic partnership, which used to be a thing, especially for same-sex couples, that used to be the only way you could be partnered, legally. Now, gay marriage is legal. So, yeah, that's my first question. What else should they consider, Tiff?
Honestly, like, you should consider, obviously you want to consider like your finances, like, child, how, like, what's the down payment looking like? How are we paying the mortgage? You want to flesh out all these things ahead of time. Like, what is everybody's credit score? What happens if somebody can't afford their payment? How much debt do you both feel comfortable taking out? Like, to me, those are probably the things you're probably already thinking about. But even still, like, because you're unmarried, you might have to apply for the mortgage separately. Like, because it depends on your state. Your state might have something where you can apply as a domestic partner. But like, so I'll give you an example. Although Jarrell and I were married, when we bought the house that Terrell has now since bought for me, but because we bought it from the city, they said only one of us, for whatever reason, it was a tax lien or tax deed, only one of us could be on the deed, like could purchase the property. They didn't allow two people, which was weird, even though we were married. And as a result of us doing that, I forgot to add myself to the deed later. And then when he passed away, it was a struggle. Like it is my property, along with Alyssa, but still, so that's something too. Like, okay, how, if you're asking about the legal part, like if one person has to apply, how are you going to choose ownership? That's probably the most important. There are different types of ownership options for an unmarried couple. Like, I'm just looking it up real quick. One is called joint tenancy. And so that's where there's multiple owners and they own an equal share in the home. And so it just means they all have equal rights to the property, and there's right to survivorship. So that way, if one owner passes away, their home is transferred to the other. So joint tenancy is one. There's tenancy in common. This is the second one. This is when each person, this is the type of ownership where each person on the deed owns a specific percentage of the home. And so say, for example, you and your domestic partner, you put down more money than them, and you kind of feel like, well, I put down like 70%, so I want to own 70% of the home, and I'm paying 70% of the mortgage. So with tenancy in common, you can say you own 30%, I own 70%. But then too, they can still, this ownership is not automatically transferred if somebody passes away. So you just have to be mindful of that. Like, what will happen to your partner if something happens to you? And go ahead.
Real quick. So where would you, like, what professional, would it be a real estate attorney? You would draft up like an ownership agreement Because I remember I researched this for an article I wrote like probably a decade ago for Yahoo Finance for how to buy a house with friends. Because my friends and I were seriously, we were so cute and thinking about buying a home all together. We're going to be friends forever. What are their names? Anyway. Just kidding. And anyway, so I wrote, it was fascinating, but like, I think at the time it was, get with a real estate attorney and at least draft up like a legal document so that you guys have everything written out. Same as you and I sort of as a partnership, we wrote up our ownership agreement. We are 50-50 partners. Here's what happens if so-and-so wants to leave, etc. But something similar for a domestic partnership as well.
No, absolutely. And especially if you're going to choose something like one of these ones, and the last one's just sole ownership or one person owns. But obviously that's not as ideal because it's like if you're not on the deed, but if you're not helping to pay expenses, maybe they're just kind of like living with you. But to Mandy's point, it's so important to sign. It's called a cohabitation agreement, property agreement.
Yeah.
Like what we going to do, we're living together. And it just, you want to think about everything. Like you want to play out the scenarios, like what happens if you pass away? How will you sell it if you decide to sell? Who's paying the mortgage? Who's responsible for what? Can you rent out your room? You want to think about all these things and you sit down with an attorney to create this agreement. And one of my attorneys, Arinze Onuga, shout out to you. Hey, Ari, he listens sometimes. I remember when I was doing my partnership agreement with my partner at the time, my business partner, Jabril, he was like, it is ideal to create these partnerships when things are great because one day they might not be. And when they're not, it's going to be very difficult to find like a common ground. And then you're going to have to do what the agreement said. And so you want to dig into the nitty gritty of it all if you decide to do that. That way, if something does happen, you break up, it's like, well, the agreement says, I take half, you can pull out the equity and give me half, you can sell and give me whatever that looks like. Because sometimes like even in business, it's like if we break up, you have to sell the company. That could be in your agreement, but you want to agree to that ahead of time. So, it's a little more complicated, but it's not impossible. People are doing it, but you want to make sure you do it in a way that you think of. Unfortunately, if something doesn't work out, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Would you ever do that, maybe? I know you're married, but would you ever consider like purchasing? Like, could you see yourself purchasing a home with like, if
someone I wasn't? Yeah, I mean, I think domestic partnership is basically like we are a partner. Like marriage is, I don't know, more biblical, whatever. I feel like it's similar in terms of the commitment to one another. So yeah, absolutely. And I think that, I've got a relative of mine who built a house and was, in their late 20s, early 30s and had a girlfriend. And together they decided that, she wasn't going to be put on the mortgage. He did that himself. There was a big disparity in income. Okay. And also the way that he was paying for it was just kind of like messy. And it took a long time to build the house. So the relationship was also like maturing, They weren't talking about marriage yet or things like that, but they wanted to live together. So for now, she's not going to be listed on the mortgage, even though she's paying effectively rent, paying part of the mortgage. Okay. However, they are discussing like, we're going to keep tabs of how much she's putting in and then determine some sort of like ownership stake that she'll have. And then that'll, they can do that later. Yeah. And I think for her own protection, especially if there's like an income disparity, I think it's only fair, she's contributing and she's your partner. So I think if you have an income disparity, just don't be afraid to advocate for yourself and research what your options are so that if something goes sideways, you're not out in the cold with nothing to show for what you've invested or what you've poured into making that home a home. Yeah. So that sounds like the tenancy in common. Like if one person pays more, it's like you can literally say, okay, according to this, 20% of the home is yours. And yeah, exactly. As a result, if we break up, there's two options. We can sell and give you 20%, or I can just pull out equity and give you 20%, so that's okay. That's good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. We'll find out. I'm ready to buy another property. Okay. But I'm emotionally tied to this one. I don't know if I want to sell it or just rent it out. I think this would be a great rental property.
Yeah, your house is great.
So we'll see, but I'm itching. Okay. My husband's itching for a Rolex and I'm itching for a property. We'll see who wins.
We need to have a talk about, girl, I have gone down the fancy watch lane. You know me, I like some random like learnings,
Okay, yeah.
And so, like, I don't know. I just watch like random YouTube like documentaries about random things, like, the effects
Yeah.
of plastic surgery on the healthcare industry. You know, like literally, I just
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
lately there's like I didn't really understand watch culture for men
Mm.
because the
Mm-hmm.
last thing that I just went a deep down rabbit hole about was luxury handbags for like women. And like,
Yeah.
how Birkin bags could be like $50,000, 60, some crazy amount, 10,000, whatever. And so
Yeah.
just learning about that, and I was like, wow. And even how Hermes, who makes Birkin bags and Kelly's and things like that, that they have their marketing is top tier. If I tell you, ooh, child, that do you know that in order to be offered to buy a bag, for many people, you have to pre-buy other tchotchkes for thousands of dollars before they
Mm-hmm.
can make you even an offer for a bag that might not even be exactly what you want. You might go to Hermes and say, I'm going to buy a scarf for $400. And I'm going to put my name down for like, hey, I'm now a new Hermes customer. And ideally, if a black Birkin bag with gold hardware comes on the market, I'd love to be offered. And they're like, we'll see. What else did you
Uh-huh.
buy?
Yep.
And so like Amelia, my niece, like whenever I do something nice for her, she's like, oh, that's nice. And what else? And so Hermes is like, Hermes is like that. It's like, oh, I bought a scarf, and what else? And I bought a card holder, and what else? And I bought, so you rack up your bills, and then they're like, Mandy, lucky you, boo boo. Your bag came in. You're like, oh my God, my black Birkin with the gold hardware? No, your black Birkin with the palladium hardware. You're like, close enough. Here's $15,000. Can you imagine?
It sounds like how Enrique described the Rolex business to me. You
That's
have to get in line to get the
yes.
honor. That's why the secondhand market is so poppin'. Like,
yes. So I
to
was
buy.
like, so I didn't know because I was like, how silly. And then I've gone down the rabbit hole of like the luxury watches, and it's the same. I said, these men, I'm not a luxury handbag girl, but these men will all talk about you women wasting your money on luxury handbags. Ha ha ha, look how they got you. And the watch market is literally the same. You have to buy this, this, and this, and maybe you get offered, and maybe it's crazy. I didn't know how much
That and
those
power
watches go
tools, baby.
for. Like, it's the same as a
Yes.
bag. 10,000, 20,000. Like, woo,
It's a down payment on a house. That's what it is. So we gonna see who wins. Because a watch,
we know
can I stretch out in that? Can I tuck myself into that? Will that put a roof over my children's head?
Oh my God. We already know who's going to win.
A screened-in porch for me and my dreams.
Mindy said, that's rhetorical. Really, we're going to see who wins. It's just like, how long before I win?
How long before? We're both going to win. He's going to get the Rolex. I'm going to get the next house and an income property. It's just a matter of like, who's going to get it first? Yes. You know what I'm saying? That's all. What I've said so far is that I've manipulated the situation so that I've got him thinking anytime that we don't order out for dinner, he can put $50 into his Rolex savings account, which is helping me because homeboy needs to cook more. And I'm sick of ordering out all the time. It's expensive, like 70. You were talking about tipping culture. Anyway, so I've got him saving more.
Oh, look at that. See, you're a real wife, girl.
Because now, whether the wives or not that money goes toward the Rolex or a down payment.
You sound like my mama. You can tell you've been married for a while because, like, in the beginning, when you're a new wife, you just be fussing. Like, when you're an OG wife, you're like, how about this? How about every time, girl, look at Mandy wifing it out.
He's like, wow, she really values what I value and she really respects my watch love.
It's like, child, okay, just put that $50 up so we don't have to
You can put whatever name you want on that Ally savings account, baby. Money is money. Okay. Should we take a break and dance to the next question? Okay. That was quite a tangent. I love it though. Okay, BA fam, we are back with our second incredible question from one of our listeners, actually a Mandy Moneymaker, who wants to remain anonymous, but slid into my email. So I got you.
Her? MM? Mandy Moneymaker?
Let's call her. Let's just, you always put me on the spot. Let's call her.
No.
Okay.
Because I'm like, let's go.
Her name's so I was looking at while you were
I know, but it's too obvious, girl. Like, her name is Tiffany. Let's call her Tiff. Like, girl, her boss is gonna be like, "It's you, fool." So Imani, cut that part out before lose her whole job. All right, let's call her Maribel.
Ooh, Maribel, a little Yes, a little Encanto action here. All right. Maribel says, Mandy, thank you for your awesome scripts that have been I used as a guideline to ask for a raise. Unfortunately, I received word from the manager today that my request has been denied. Let me give you a little backstory. I'm a licensed practical nurse with a total medical professional background of over 20 years. I climbed the educational ladder and worked the subsequent jobs on the way up. I work in Virginia and I'm about 30 to 45 minutes away from the city of Virginia Beach. I'm 48 years old, which puts me closer to my retirement years. And my one and only child just turned 21 2 weeks ago and is no longer at home. So my current career goal is to finish my bachelor's in health science degree, but I don't know what I want to do with it just yet. I know the degree will allow me to stay in the medical field, but not necessarily tied down to just nursing. I have a strong desire to go into travel nursing, which will definitely increase my earnings potential. But something's holding me back, and I can't bring myself to quit the job I have and leave home. I've been with the company for 10 years. I enjoy my job just 75% of the time. Stability is very important to me, and I don't want to have regrets thinking I should have stayed where I was at. As you can see, I didn't mention any other family. Both my parents have passed away, and I'm divorced. This sounds like a really good email for Brown Ambition Q&A, and I don't mind if you want to share it there, but keep me anonymous. I got you, Maribel. Okay. But I was fascinated by this question. One, because the whole travel nursing thing became so lucrative. Yes. Maybe it always has been lucrative, but especially during the pandemic, a lot of nurses actually got so burnt out by just the work environment during the pandemic, and travel nursing became this way out. Like, I can still do what I am trained to do, but if you have a flexible enough lifestyle, like you don't have, like this person, for example, be the perfect candidate. You don't have a child at home that you're caring for, no spouse. So you can get up and move, and go wherever you may be needed as a travel nurse. And these hospitals pay big money to have not just traveling nurses. One of my Mandy moneymakers is a general surgeon. She's making almost $400,000 a year as a general surgeon in the South. Wow. And she tells me that she is on a team where there's traveling surgeons, and they pay way more.
What?
For the traveling surgeons. That's her issue. She's like, I'm here, I'm being loyal, I'm getting paid peanuts compared to these traveling surgeons who you're more than happy to pay for like a 6-month contract to come in and swoop out. Anyway, so I get what she's saying about the earnings potential of, becoming a traveling nurse, and the fact that she just asked for a raise using my negotiation scripts. But, got the request was denied. And this is one of the reasons why I like to push people just to ask the question, because if you're someone who's in a 9-to-5 and you're like, man, if I just stay here, I'll get that raise, I'll get this and that. If you ask, you'll find out a lot sooner than just waiting for them to, tell you or not tell you. And then you can make an informed decision. Mm-hmm. So they've told you, with all your experience, 20 years in the business, with the 10 years that you've given them, that your loyalty is not worth more to them than what they're paying you right now. Mm-hmm. They've told you that now. So I feel like you've got the information that you have that should make you feel a little bit freer to definitely make a move. You enjoy your job. 75% of the time is a lot. I feel like that's how much. I think for a regular, working a 9-to-5, how many of you can say you enjoy your job 3/4 of the time? That's pretty good. But what do you what is it about the stability that you're craving, and how can you create that same sense of stability in your new chapter? Whether it's as a traveling nurse or somewhere else. You have to think of yourself as your own job stability. No one can take away your 20 years of experience. No one can take away. And I'm telling you, these nurses and these medical professionals, y'all continue to educate yourselves forever. Y'all really like school, and y'all go back for more degrees, and they can't take that education away from you either. And there's a lot that you could do with those skills. So even if you were to leave this place, 10 years in, and try travel nursing for a year to see how it is, if you decide that you don't like it, which you are more than it's okay for you to pivot into something new and decide you don't like it. If you decide they can't take away that work experience, and you've got such applicable skills you could go to any hospital, any healthcare facility, maybe consult, or, do nursing in some other way, or teach, or whatever it may be. You have so many skills. And that for me is what is creating stability for you.
Yeah.
Not so much just the fact that you're employed, right now, and you've got, sort of where you're going to go each day for work. And I feel like at 48, like this is how I kind of hope I can be once. I mean, I'm not going to stop being like flexible and trying new things now that I have young children, but I also feel like you did, your kids out the house, and it's just you, yourself, and you. So like,
you're still young.
Yeah, why not take a little bit of a risk right now? The only person who you seem to be, needing to convince is yourself that you can do that. And if you're looking for permission, we have our magic permission wand.
Yes, girl, whip that out.
I don't know why I whipped it. More like a ding.
Can I just want to say, like, I get it. As somebody who sometimes feels very risk adverse, let's de-riskify this thing that you're saying. One, you are literally in one of the most in-demand professions, like, known to man. I mean, back in the day, my mother was a nurse for many years. She retired a few years ago. But back in the day, I don't know if you noticed, man, they used to literally fly to Jamaica to try to recruit women to come over, Africa to recruit women, because nursing has been in demand for so long, and especially during COVID, and especially post-COVID. So this is a profession where the job security is baked into the foolishness of this country, just because of all that no, for real, because sometimes I get it. It's like, it sounds good, but it's like, then for me, I'm like, how do I de-riskify my fear? It's like, one, let's be real. I'm in a profession where, girl, I can throw a rock and hit a hospital that's like, yes, please, please, please. So let's tell yourself that. Two, I would talk to other nurses so I can get real clear on, like, it's real cute out here. Like, how cute? Like, how much cute? Like, real cute. How quickly were you able to get cute about, you know what I mean? So getting a better understanding of, like, what does the money really look like? How quickly you can make it with people who are in your position, who have your level of education, who have your level of experience. Like, gather as much detail as possible so you can then feel more comfortable. Like, okay, Sarah, Tanya, Tiffany, Mandy are similar to me, and they're actually making more than I am. They're going to make this connection for me to this, like, agency. I can start right away. Worst case scenario, because I'm a nurse, let's be real, I know I can go someplace else and work someplace else. Even though what I'm saying really is I'm comfortable here, but the truth is I'm in a safe position just by nature of the industry that I'm in. And then once you get those numbers, start dreaming about, like, what that additional income can do for you. Can you go on more vacations? Will you be able to help your kid not have, if they're in school, I don't know, because they're 21 now, so maybe they've graduated. Like, what would that money do? Like, dreamscape a little. So that's what I would say. De-riskify, and then dreamscape of what that extra money can do for you.
De-riskify, I like
it. Because sometimes I need that. I'm just like, wait, I'm scared. I'm like, okay, what are you scared of? I'm scared my team is going to say, if you listen to our episode on Wednesday prior to this, I'm making a transition in the Budgetnista to really become a business that creates insights for companies that want to speak to Black women. And I'm like, I'm scared. What are you scared about? I'm scared that my team is going to leave and they're going to be mad at me. I was scared about that. But then I looked at my team and I thought to myself, everybody here is so awesome. And I de-riskified by talking myself through it, pulling them aside individually, telling them as a group. And everybody was like, yes, girl. I'm like, oh, what else are you scared about, Tiffany, about making the transition? What if you don't make enough money? I started to talk to people in corporate to say, would you be interested in insights like this? I have already gotten like 2 or 3 people who are like tentatively put me down as a client. I was like, okay. And so I'm de-riskifying because I'm actually really risk adverse. People think that I'm like, oh, I'm out here leaping now, girl. And then as a result of that, now I could take the leap. There's still a leap to be taken, but I have minimized the risk as much as possible before doing so. So we, what is it, Maddie Bell? Maddie Bell, girl, go ring that bell, Maddie Bell.
You're right.
Keep us
it's
updated.
Like, put a name to the fear and like actually look at the facts and let the facts fight the fear. Like, if you're exactly like what you said, if you're worried about how much money can I make, I don't know, find some answers, so you can put together a real plan. But I also feel like the time freedom, if you controlled your schedule. And it reminded me immediately, like, I think the woman who helped me deliver my son, Remy, I think she was a traveling nurse. She was retirement age. She was so sweet. I think her name was Bonnie. And I just got lucky because one day a month, she showed up for that hospital. She's like, yeah, I'm contracted to come here one day a month. And she basically left travel, like, has for the flexibility. And now they bring her back just as a contractor, which is basically a traveling nurse.
Girl.
Exactly. So think about, what if you leave because they show you that you're not worth more, whether it's you get a competing offer somewhere else to prove that you're worth more, you leave, you become a traveling nurse, and then they're like, we want you back. And at this time you feel more confident about traveling and doing freelance. So you're like, okay, I'll come back for 3 days a month, and you can pay me triple what you were paying me before hourly. But Bonnie was just living her best life. She's like, yeah, I come when I want to. I love it. And then I go off to the countryside, and me and my husband have a great little quiet life. So yeah, I love it. What Tiff said about de-riskifying and also dreamscaping and imagining not what you'd be losing, but what you could be gaining.
Yes.
By starting a new chapter.
Love that for you. Okay, keep us
love
updated.
That for you, Maribel.
If you want us to love stuff for you, go ahead on over and ask your question. Go to the brownambition.com. So brownambition.com. No, brownambitionpodcast, I'm sorry, .com. Click contact us, ask questions there. Email us at brownambitionpodcast@gmail.com. Ask questions there. Brown Ambition Podcast on IG. Slide into the DMs and follow us. The BA Podcast on Twitter. Same, slide into the DMs. And we're here. We're two smart brown girls. We're not your mama, your cousin, your financial advisor, but we are your fave financial brown girls. Okay, we know a little something, one or two, but always take our advice with the smallest grain of salt and lean into the people that you pay for the final say. But until next week,
I like that.
I know that was a bar that I'm gonna quickly forget.
Meanwhile, they're like, but you just answered 2 questions that came to Mandy's email into your DM. So what are you really telling us? Follow the rules, okay?
I know.
You will always be rewarded.
All right, y'all. Next week. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, BA fam. We're on YouTube. Woohoo! Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
And while you're at it, why don't you go over to that little bell icon and just tap that for us. Show the BA fam how much you love us. And that way you'll also get notifications when new videos drop. Also, share the channel with a friend. We're always like, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. And thank y'all so much again for all the support.